What's going on, everybody? This is Devil Dog underscore 88. Where is all the devil pups? Today, we're going to talk about not only where's Nancy Guthrie. I think we're at now about 104 days since she's gone missing. But we're also going to talk about where could they have taken her? Who could have taken her? Why would they have taken her? Try to get everybody's opinion and everybody's theories. Trying to get everybody's take. Where could they have taken her? Who could have taken her? And why did they take her? Let's have that conversation. Try to make sense of what has happened. So, to understand what could have happened to her, we really need to understand what was the purpose of them coming to Nancy Guthrie's house at 1:48, 1:40, somewhere in that time frame, and what could be the reason why they wanted to take her. So we need to understand why or understand what was the reason that they took her for. Was it a kidnapping? Was it a burglary? Was it something else nefarious? Was it something that they just felt like had to be done for whatever reasons? We have to understand that before we can get on to that second part. So, why would they have taken her? Some have suggested, and some have pulled back from that theory of a burglary gone wrong. Probably not so much a burglary because what appears to be nothing was taken from the home other than Nancy. The other thing is no items. I mean, nothing of any value that the family knows is missing. So that kind of shoots that theory out more than likely. So then we come up to the question, okay, if they didn't go in there, I mean, they could have gone in there and taken everything because Nancy didn't have her hearing aids on. She didn't have her, she had nothing on. She can't hear without her hearing aids. So for all sake and purposes, they could have just went in there and cleaned house, so to speak. But that didn't happen. And she wouldn't have heard anything. Okay. So that would have never happened. So then you come to the ask the question, well, if that didn't happen, then what did happen? Well, it kind of makes sense that the burglary theory is not necessarily what they intended to do. And the fact that this was possibly could have been a hit job, if you will, by somebody higher, well, that doesn't really make sense because they would have just done it and left her there. Okay? And I'm just giving you my opinions and philosophy coming from a law enforcement perspective here. But they would have just left the body there. Okay? They would have just left the body there and got out before they left any trace of any type of evidence of any sort. They would have went in there, did their thing, and gone. Yeah, that would have sent shock waves across the wavelengths, across the airways. But the truth of it is, if that really is what they wanted to do, why take the body? What is the purpose of taking the body? So that theory pretty much goes out the window. in my opinion. Then you come out, could it have been something sadistic, inflict pain? We're talking about, if you believe in that dark side things, then you're talking about, February 1st being that first, as they call it, snow moon. Is that possible? Eh, I'm not sure that that really is the motive, in all honesty, because I don't believe that there is anything to really base it other than we have a lot of characters in this storyline that seem to have some type of background and or affiliation with that type of satanic movement, thinking process, whatnot. So we know for a fact, I can't say for a fact, we know probably for sure that you know, probably wasn't the issue, probably wasn't the reason. However, it does it does bring it to light that you cannot take anything off the table. Okay, so in all these scenarios, none of us really know what the true motive is, but you have to find out the reason, what makes most plausible sense on what happened to her, or what was the reason they wanted her, or what was the reason they wanted to remove her. We have to understand that before you can move on, because then nothing will make sense. You'll have theories coming out of your ears, literally. So that's not really something that I think happened for that reason. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't belong on the table, because you do have a lot of circumstantial information that's dealing around these type of people, and they all seem to know each other. So then we get to the one that I think, in my opinion, is probably the one and the reason they did this, and that was a kidnapping for ransom. Makes sense. 2 days, 3 days later, they got their first ransom letters, notes, information from the potential people of interest, and it was sent to TMZ. It was sent to actually the very first one was actually a call that was made by a person of interest by the name of DC. And if you don't know who they are, you need to let me know so I can tell you who they are. But DC is from California, and he had texted Annie and Tommaso a text message about, do you guys have the Bitcoin, and are you ready to make that transition? And I'm paraphrasing it, but it's basically the same. And then right after that, he calls one of them for a 9-second phone call. Now, they won't release who he called. I would have to lean more that he called T than A, because the fact that just seems more probable in reality. Good morning, DD and chat, says Carolina Girl. So that's the other aspect of it. Now, to text somebody and ask them, is the Bitcoin there? Do they have the Bitcoin? There had to be a reason why Annie and Tommaso would have known about the Bitcoin, right? In other words, you're not going to ask somebody something that they have no clue what the hell you're talking about, right? And yes, they had asked for earlier about a Bitcoin, but the reality is that's not necessarily the person who have the monetary, the Bitcoin, the access, the ability to provide those type of answers, because they don't have the money, not like their other sister, Savannah. So then the question would be, why? Why would you go ahead and literally ask somebody who, for all sake and purposes, may be struggling financially. Why would you ask them if they had the Bitcoin? Why would you make contact with them when they really don't have the monetary money to pay this ransom, right? You would think you would go to somebody who was more capable of going ahead and making that payment. Good morning, Groundsky. Good to have you. So then, on top of that, he's going to text them and then call them for a 9-second blurt. Now, I've already shared how I think that conversation went. Okay. In my opinion, that conversation went pretty damn close because it's almost 9 seconds to the T. Marianne, good morning. So now, my take is this conversation went something like this. Hey, did you get the Bitcoin? Response by Tommaso. Why are you calling me? Did you get the Bitcoin? No. Don't call me again. Bye. And maybe not even bye. Don't call me again. Hang up. That's about approximately 9 seconds. Literally. So, my theory and my thinking is that call had to go something like that. It was almost like, are you crazy to call me? Why would you call me? Now, this is not per se what the conversation was, but they won't say who did they talk to and what that conversation really was, other than to say they were demanding, they were asking if they had this and that and the other. But they won't say who they talked to. And to me, it would only make sense that if they're going to call somebody who really has no financial means to pay this or to come up with this finances, why waste your time? If you know what you're doing, why waste your time? It makes no sense. Norma, good morning, DD and beautiful chat. You all were missed yesterday. Yeah, I know. We just had some family things at the hospital we had to take care of, but we are here. So let's get to this. Let's get to this stream and figure out what happened. So you guys follow me so far, right? So right now, why are they going to call and why are they going to tax Annie and Tommaso? It makes no sense. They can't give you the goods. Hell, they probably don't even know where the state is at. In other words, they don't know like what what's the next step, or do they know, or are they expected to get with Savannah and say, hey, they want this Bitcoin, we got to get this Bitcoin to them right away. You follow me? So either they know and are playing possum, or really they don't know. April's in the house. I was watching Faithful Servant recap. It is so interesting. Good morning, all. L, good morning, DD, and everybody. So it doesn't make sense why they would call, or why this person, DC from California, would call for a 9-second call or even message them when they can't produce the funds. It just goes without saying, right? It's common sense. You're gonna make contact to the person who has the ability to pay that money. Simple as that. So now they receive the call, or they receive the message, then they receive a 9-second call. None of that makes any sense to me. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe they couldn't get the information of Savannah's phone or contact or anything, right? Maybe they couldn't get it. Maybe they were easier to get uh, Tommy and Annie because they're not as as in the public eye as Savannah is. So there's going to be a lot more uh, difficultness because everything is pretty much censored, you would think. Norma, Didi, I can relate about those powerful hearing aids. I wear them too and are absolutely right. Can't hear nothing without them. Poor Nancy. Yeah, so the theory of anybody thinking that that's what it was, like, they could have cleaned the whole house out. Good point, Norma. Thank you. They could have cleaned the whole house out. Lisa Page, morning, morning, Lisa. They could have cleaned the whole house out. Nancy wouldn't have heard a thing, and they could have left with all the goods if that was the purpose. They had to have done their homework, right? You would think. We're saying this is a sophisticated group, right? This group is supposed to be sophisticated and well thought of and well planned, a well oiled machine. Really? Are they? Or they just get lucky? Did they just get lucky in all those dynamics? Because there's not a whole lot of what I would consider proven knowledge that they really did their homework at the end of the day when it comes to Nancy's condition. Good morning, Lisa. Mary Ann, good morning. So now the thought is, okay, it's not that. It can't be that, or it doesn't make sense to be that. It could be anything, but it doesn't make sense to be that. So now we went and shifted to the last option was with the kidnapping for ransom. But that kind of really doesn't make sense because why is DC messaging people who cannot fulfill that obligation? I mean, if he's supposed to know the family, he knows that they don't have the money, right? So why is he text messaging them and not getting, just going straight to Savannah? And why is he going ahead and making a 9-second phone call? I mean, he was literally tracked down. He went to court, and he goes to court again here, like pretty quick. I think it's in June or something. So that to me is understanding what it probably was. Now, could we all be wrong? Could I be wrong? Sure, I could. But my police skills and my knowledge tell me that's what this was. So let's just say, for all sake and purposes, that what I'm telling you is correct. Let's just say it was a kidnapping for ransom. Now we have something to build on. Okay, so what happened? What happened? Well, we know that the note stated early in the ransom that they wanted, that it was like they made it known that time is of an essence. They want to make this deal and make this deal ASAP. April, he was in panic in that Cali, in my opinion, no doubt about it. DC was very much in panic. So you have to ask yourself, okay, they went ahead, they did this, they requested this. Okay, now what happened in that process? Well, they didn't come in there to take her out, right? Because they would have just took her out and left her body there. It made no sense. They didn't go ahead and go in there to burglarize that whole place because they didn't take anything, according to the family. So now we're left with that one anomaly. Is it a sadistic thing or is it a kidnapping? I would think it would probably be more of a kidnapping the way everything was playing out. Okay, because even as a sadistic thing, they would have just took her, and you would have. It's probably would have been for all sake and purposes, a really big mess in there. But apparently, to the powers to be, to the investigating, to the Pima County Sheriff's Office, everything was tightly cleaned and neat, right? So there was no struggle. There was nothing there. April says he was in panic at the call. Yes, he was in panic at the call. No doubt about it. He was very in panic. And I think that sends a message clearly as to what the motive was. Great theories, DD. This is all makes sense. So now that we understand that that's probably what it was, in my opinion, now we go to, okay, what happened to her? Well, we know Nancy was a, for a better lack of words, she had a lot of spunk. Okay, she had a lot of, for a better lack of words, fire in her. She wasn't going to go down easy. We know that because everybody's talked about that. Her mobility may have not been, very strong. Her athleticism to move and run and this that may have not been great, but her mind, as they say, was as sharp as a tack, right? So she would have put up a fight, and that could have been what caused her, literally, at the end of the day, that her heart could not take it anymore, and she could have literally become unalive at that time. And now everybody's panicking because their golden goose nest egg is no longer viable. Because you're going to have to show proof of life. And they know they can't do that because there's nothing there. She's unalive. So you have to ask yourself, what is the reason behind that? Okay? What happened? I'm thinking maybe she fought back. I'm thinking maybe she recognized the perps. Maybe she went ahead. When Elle says, when adrenaline kicks in, you can do things you didn't think you could do. I bet she did fight like heck. No doubt about it, Elle. I agree with that 100%. There's a lot of things that you think you can't do until you're able to do it, right? There's a lot of things. So the idea of the fact that I believe she fought back to the best of her ability and her heart may have just given out. Whether it gave out in the house or whether it gave out while she was leaving, being transported in a vehicle, which is most common, I would think, she would have been taken in a vehicle, right? That's the only logical thing. Then she probably could have became unalive in the vehicle. One of the two things happened, and probably the unalive is almost for definite. Okay, let's just be frank and honest. April says, think she went into a fight or flight mode. Unfortunately, no doubt. Let me tell you what, when you hit the fight or flight mode, it's literally what it says. You're either going to fight or you're going to take off running, you're going to flight. That's why they call it. In law enforcement, that term is used a lot. Fight or flight stage. And for her, if she knew she was going down and she didn't want her family to have to deal with this, she would have probably literally fought to the end. Okay? Because that sounds like her demeanor. That sounds like the kind of person she is or she was. Someone who would fight back. Okay? And then on the flip side, you know, she may have tried to escape, but she can't. Her mobility is pretty weak. So that's pretty much, that's hard to envision, I guess, for a better lack of words. It's hard to envision because of her health. So I would think she fought back as much as she could. Agree, April. Yes, April. Agree, 1985. So now we have come to a conclusion, or I have come to a conclusion, in my opinion, that A, this was about kidnapping, not about anything else. This was a kidnapping for ransom. This was supposed to be simple, easy, and they were going to make some serious money. I mean, Savannah was worth, her net worth was about $40 million, right? So money wasn't going to be the object. What they didn't encounter was that there was going to be a fight back from this 84-year-old little lady. And that's what caused a lot of this to go bonkers. That's simple to me. Now, Now that we have established, I think, in my opinion, what it was, what was the reason, their motive, and then what happened. Now, we may never know the integral parts of what happened unless there's some cameras that were inside the house that Pete McConney will finally share with the people one day as to what was on those cameras, right? If they were able to pull anything from those cameras. We will then know exactly, or could know pretty much, what happened. But at this point, we may not know what happened inside that home. It is very possible we'll never know. One thing's for sure is that what we do know is there was blood, correction, there was some blood splatter in the front, outside the front door, and some have even claimed in front of the front door before you go out. I've known about the one in the front door, on that porch, on that stoop, going down to like towards the road. There was blood droppings, blood splatter, whatever you want to call it. We do know that because we saw that. We don't know for a fact if there was a little bit of blood on the inside of that house, of the door, the front door. We just don't know that. There's been claimed that there was, but we don't know that. But we definitely know on the outside there was. So what that tells us is that somewhere in there, she might have got hurt, or she might have got dragged. She might have got hit. God only knows what happened because the blood obviously came back to her. So we definitely know it was her blood. That's a no definite. It's hers. Okay. And we do have a partial, what seems like either a footprint of some sort on that blood, which which there's been a streamer by the name of Monk who has come to the idea maybe it was from like a wheel of a pull cart. So kudos to that for him figuring it out, or trying to figure it out, that that's a possibility, because it looks kind of like a certain type of wheel you would get on a pull cart that you would buy somewhere like, let's just say, Harbor Freight. So there is some things there that people have done some great work to figure out where those little tracks or footprints could have come from. And I say footprints, I don't mean literally footprints, although it could have been a shoe footprint, partial. And when you look at that footprint, that's really dark, or bright red, but almost like, I would equate it to like not a puddle, but more than your average dropping. So that would mean to me that they had to, whoever stepped on quite a bit of blood in one spot to be able to make that impression on the ground to cause it to really stand out. I think that's fair to say. So now we know that literally there's blood there. So something happened. Now the theory is, well, was that blood there before? Maybe she cut her arm. She was on blood thinners. She had literally went ahead and could have cut herself. Hit the side of the door as she was walking. And if you're on blood thinners, you know that you do bleed very easily. It's possible. It is very possible. you know. But the idea is, because of all the dynamics that are happening around with what happened to her that night, I think those are now becoming opinions that we're adding to what it could have been, instead of what fits what probably happened. And that is, she was hurt in that process. And the reason I say that, because is sometimes you got to follow the facts. Well, we know there's facts there that there was blood splatter there. We know that she was taken, not willingly, by force. It would only make sense that that's where that blood came from. Okay? It would be, once again, too coincidental for it just to be a coincidence that she happened to cut herself earlier, the blood laid there. Because now we're adding a lot more dynamics. Stick to the facts. Tina Brown says, what I didn't understand, why when A&T went to Nancy's house. Why they didn't tell all the 911 operator about the blood outside? You know, that's a very good point, Tina. And I would say, to that, I would say, uh, not only is that a good point, but did they even see the blood when they got there? Were they even paying attention? Or did they not want to say anything about it and let the cops fight it on their own? I'm just saying. I don't know. It's either going to be one of the two, right? It's either going to be they knew it was there, but they thought, oh, we're not going to say nothing. Or they didn't know it was there, figure the cops will see it and they'll make their own assessment. It's going to be one of those two things. But you're right. That's a very good point. Al says, horrible to imagine what she went through. Really is. And I think that's what's hard for a lot of us American people, people in general, to think how something like this could happen to somebody so old, an elderly person. Who could have the audacity to do something like this to someone who, by all rights, by all means, just was living their life? Okay? So, going back to what we do know is that blood was there. What we do know, it was her blood. What we don't know is how it got there. Now, they've done a lot of analysts. A lot of analysts had come on and said, "Well, that looks like she was hunched over. The dropping, the amount of the splatter, blood splatter that was there, would indicate this, that, and the other." And hey, they know more than I on blood splatter, so for as far as I'm concerned, they may be right on the money. But my thing is, when we start suggesting that maybe that blood was there before, we're adding an element that, yes, could it be there before? Of course it could. There could be some blood on a tree. There could be some blood, underneath somewhere where no one has looked yet. There could be blood anywhere for that matter. But if you stick to the facts and the narrative, what all goes together? Well, where the blood came from, whose blood it was, and what happened to her that day. Well, then, you kind of just let the picture paint itself. Don't go out there and try to add, just let it paint itself because it's telling you what you have. I'm not saying that it can't be from a previous injury. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is let the picture paint itself. Don't add to the picture. Let it paint itself. Just go by what you have. Because when you go by what you have, it does make sense. It all makes sense. Okay? So now we have literally the blood that's there at the front porch, at the stoop, going down the walkway, if you will. Now, that's probably attributed to her being hit, hurt, or suffering some pain. Let's just be honest. Okay? We don't know how it happened. We don't know if she was punched, if she was thrown down, if she was hit with a weapon. We don't know what. We do know there was a weapon by the porch guy. We do know some people have suggested he may be the muscle of the group. He didn't look very intelligent, in my opinion. Just in my opinion, from everything I saw, he didn't look very intelligent to me. But he could have been the muscle. You don't take muscles to be smart, right? Didn't look very smart where that person in the porch had the gun at, right? They had their gun right there in the front. If it was a male, it's going to be hitting your junk constantly as you're walking. I could see that person could have been, why people have suggested that could have been a female. I don't know. We don't know that yet. The eyes look this and the eyes look that. I get all that. But we just don't know that. What we do know is there was somebody at the front literally trying to disarm or take apart this Nest door camera. That we do know because it's missing. Cops don't have it. Okay? So now that we've established that, in my opinion, and this is just a theory and an opinion, now that we have established that in the blood, it would not be out of the question to say her heart was really pumping. She was going through a lot. She was literally fighting back, and her heart could have very well gave out. Fact is, there was a disconnection to her phone and to her pacemaker, right? There was a disconnection or severed connection, literally, to be more graphic. Either way, we know there was a disconnection by her either going unalive, okay, or broke that distance of what they had to be within to be connected to her phone. Because you got to remember, her phone was left on her dresser along with her hearing aids, her glasses, all the stuff she would normally wear on a daily basis. If they wheeled her out, they would have not wanted her fighting, in my opinion. So probably knocked her out, or I hate to say, unalived her there. It's very possible, April. Very, very possible. And that goes with the scene of the crime, right? Her fighting back, they unalive her, they do just as you suggested. It's very possible. Because that all fits within that line of what was going on that day, that night, early in the morning. This is all blow minding. It is. When you stop and think about all the things you do have, it makes sense. It all makes sense. And you're not really adding a whole lot. You're just going by the facts that you have. Or they dragged her. Very possible, Marianne. Very possible. Once again, all that reflects on them taking her. And the only reason you would really want to take her, honestly, is for a ransom. What was the first thing they asked for? Ransom. What was the first things that notes came out? What was it for? Money. Very possible, Marianne. So now we have come to that conclusion that whether she was unalive in the house, whether they took her out the front door, whether they loaded her up and she became unalive, we do know that was her blood. By all rights of the family, we do know that she was spunky and she would fight back. Everything seems to fit that narrative. Okay? I'm not trying to, I don't want to, I think for me, trying to come up with these anomalies that are not there, but they could be there. You know, it could have been that someone did this or someone hit her like this, or, it could have been that. And I don't want to get into the could have beens because that's when you get lost in the weeds. Stick to what you really do know. Blood at front door. She was taken by force. Somewhere in line, she bled. It is very logical to put all those pieces and say, yes, this happened. This is a part of the picture because that's what the picture is drawing, rather than throwing in some other anomalies that sounds great, sounds like a great book, but in reality may not be the book you're reading. Possible, Marianne. And wheel tracks, yes, no doubt, says April. No doubt. April, Marianne says April, or they drug her. That's very possible. If she was unalive, that's very possible. We know, like I said, there was a disconnection between her pacemaker and her phone. Okay? Usually that's either by distance or by literally severed. I know it sounds horrible, but that's really what it could be. Okay? So now we know that she was taken by force. Now we don't know how many people were there. Okay? We don't know that. It would appear to me that you would probably need more than one person to do this. Okay? You would almost definitely need more than one person. For one person to come and open the back doors and then try to take her out through the front door, something went wrong, and then to put her in a vehicle, whether you're putting her in a wheelbarrow and rolling her out, or whether you're going ahead and literally just to do anything to make sure no cars are coming down the street, that you're going to accidentally get seen by somebody. It's going to be more than one. And my guess is going to be still 3 to 4 people. Probably closer to 3, possibly 4, in my opinion. You have a driver, you have a person that's going in the front door, you may even have a person at the back door, and you have a lookout for anybody driving by. Makes sense to me. Or the driver in the car is the lookout, and you have a person in the front and a person in the back. That makes sense to me, right? You don't want too many people because loose lips sink ships. We know that whole saying, loose lips sink ships. You start getting a lot of people end up getting drunk, high, stoned, whatever. Next thing you know, they're blabbing about what a great thing they did, what an awesome thing they did, and how they got away with it, and that's when they get caught. Just saying. And how do I say that? Because it's happened numerous times. So many times that you can't even count it has happened where people have spoken. That is a fact. So you want to keep it to a minimum, but you also want to stay within the confound of the probabilities of what that picture is painting. So I would say probably 3, maybe 4 at most. Norma says, drug her out frontward, and that would show why there was blood dropped in the front door and could have been her heels dragging in the dirt through the front. Very possible. Very possible. Once again, if you go by just what you see in the facts, yes, and go by everything we know about her so far, that's a very probable scenario. And you're not adding things to it because it's all what we're saying and what I'm saying, it's all within the realm of getting that job done by whatever means necessary. And what I just described, is any means necessary. In other words, it fits that pattern of how this happened or why this happened. More so, why this happened. The how just it substantiates the why. You know, how was she bleeding? Because they did this. You see what I'm saying? It's gotta fit each other. Each piece has gotta fit each other. And that's just to get an idea of what could have happened. Once again, these are opinions and thoughts, but I'm just trying to base my knowledge as to how I could have seen this broken down. That's it. Marianne, just a thought. What if she wasn't in bed, and when A and T went there in the morning, one of them pulled the blanket down, put her in slippers down, and propped the doors open, call 911. Back doors were left open on purpose to throw people off. I mean, it's possible. We do know for a fact that, according to the report, back doors were open, right? What we don't know is who opened them. What we don't know is why. What was the gain, right? Think about it. If it was to throw a different message that they could have left from the back or the front, kudos. They were thinking because we're talking about it, right? People have been talking about that. So they definitely have caused some anomalies to go ahead and have people to think outside that box. Very possible. Very, very possible. Soaring Energy says, Didi, have you heard that Tommaso and Nano and perhaps Annie were all friends? Tommaso and Nano would go fishing together, and the truth to any of that. I have heard that, Soaring Energy, that they had a good rapport, good acquaintance and or friendship relationship. I can't. I mean, something like that is so hard to really prove, other than if somebody said, "Hey, I saw them. They used to go fishing all the time. Yeah, I went fishing and I saw them fishing." Then you could probably someone could probably say, "Yeah, that's definitely fact." I have heard that verbiage. It wouldn't surprise me that that's exactly what it is. It wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't put it out of the theory, and I definitely wouldn't say that that doesn't fit the narrative, because it sure very well could have. But it suggests, where does it go from there? Were they friends? Probably. Did they go fishing? Probably. So what is the suggestion there? That's where you got to start adding that suggestion back to the basics. Are we saying that because they were friends, that maybe it's possible that the sheriff is protecting Tommaso and Annie? Is that what we're saying? Because there's really no proof to that, right? There may be proof that they had a relationship. There's just no proof that that was done. Could it have been done? Sure. Could he be doing this? Sure. Absolutely. But sticking to the facts, we know everything we've talked about, sticking to the what we do know, that seems logical. But I've heard that, Soren Energy. I have heard that quite a bit, to be honest. No, and I get it's hard to. It's hard to prove any of that, because, like I said, unless people saw them, you know, hey, I'm going fishing, or hey, in a weekend, or this, that, or the other, or other officers went fishing and it happened to be where he was at and he was with Tommaso and stuff. That's the only way you would verify that, right? Because or the sheriff or Tommaso would just tell you straight out, oh yeah, we were buddies, right? That'd be the only way. That's a hard one to navigate, because short of someone seeing them hanging out, maybe having a beer at a bar or whatever, you know, always seeing them together, that's a tough one. So I entertained that for an hour or so last night, and the case of what were been given makes your whole lot of sense if they were in cahoots. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Is it possible? Sure it is. Is it probable? Is it plausible? Sure it is. Do we have anything to sustain that? That's where we come into, man, we're missing that one little piece of the puzzle that would open this up pretty big. Marianne, but not put. So Soren says, I can prove it, but apparently there are lots of Texas prior to this happening, going back and forth between Nanos and Annie. Okay, well there you go. If you can show it, by all means tell us how you show it, because that makes sense. If we're able to go ahead and put that piece together. JLR said he would give someone $200 to come up with a real picture of T and Nanos together. There you go. There you go. So if you could find that picture and establish where it was taken, when it was taken, why it was taken, what they were doing, and that they have done it more than once. Okay, that's the key. Not some offshoot that just happened to ironically see somebody at a festival, and you're talking to them, and next thing you know, there it is. The reality is it's got to be something that's uh, 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 a continuous pattern to be able to show this has happened several times, no doubt about it. But you would have to show that. There's apparently some digital evidence that shows it, some blackouts, some digital evidence that there were a meeting near Pima Sheriff's Department before the crime happened. Interesting. I did not know that. Thank you so much, Soren Energy. I did not know that at all. Only $200 JLR is cheap, laughing. Yeah, yeah, when he's made a lot of money off a lot of people, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. That is very cheap. almost anything seems possible with the case. Oh, no doubt about it, Al. April, live streamers are coming back to Tucson this weekend to put the pressure on. Stay tuned. I'll be watching. Marianne, I looked for pictures and I couldn't find anything. And we know Marianne does good work. You know, that says a lot. I mean, she does literally good work. And Marianne, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the key. If we could find something to that effect more than once, because once you can knock it off as a coincidence. Two, probably so. You start finding pictures left and right of them hanging out. Now you could say, Houston, we have a problem, right? It makes a lot of sense. The black glove and the rest at the restaurant implication had to do with somebody that apparently did help them. But yeah, that was the implication at first. I don't know what went south. Hell, some of the people at the restaurant said they didn't even know what the hell was going on. They didn't even hear anything about it, which makes you wonder if that was something legit or if it was something that people just talked about, but nothing got done because it was just that. It was just rhetoric. Al says, April, I heard they may go outside the sheriff's department. I just hope they're careful because some people there don't seem to have sensible thought process. That's a fact, Al. That's a fact. I think honestly, I think it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake to go out to the front, literally parking lot of the sheriff's department. I think when you start doing that, in my opinion, just knowing from law enforcement, you are pushing something that you're wanting something to escalate. And in my opinion, I get it. You have every right to do anything you want to do as long as it doesn't come harm to anybody. I get all that. But it's like that if you continue to push something that you have no evidence for, right? Yeah, it's only logical that there's going to be some repercussion coming back towards you, and you have to understand that, and you have to be willing. Uh, when Martin Luther King was doing everything he was doing, he knew there was a chance he was going to get arrested, right, wrong, or indifferent, just for doing the right thing, right? When a lot of these other protesters who were doing stuff that they were doing, right, they knew there was a chance they would get arrested, right? So because of that, they knew that there was a chance. They knew that they were going to go through some hard times. You know, yeah. The Pettis Bridge situation. Okay, they knew that they were going to be going through a lot by confronting something that they just, you know, but they believed in, but not necessarily um, were they going to be. It was going to be easy, I guess, for better lack of words. So I just think that when you are doing something to cause a reaction, don't be surprised when there is a reaction. It's common sense, right? You want to go out there and you want to protest and do that, that's fine. That's in our constitution. You have all the reason to do that. But I think when you try to go to somebody's back door and literally, for a better lack of words, you know, demand information or shame them or make them look bad, then you have to understand if they don't have anything to do with it, they're going to fight back. And I don't mean literally fight back. I mean figuratively fight back, and you could end up with the short end of the stick. You follow me? So I don't know if I subscribe to going to there. Just my opinion. But if that's what they feel, hey, you have every right to go there, and they have every right to go ahead and do what they got to do to silence the hostile crowd. Right? I mean, you can paint any picture you want to paint, no doubt about it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying be careful the task that you take at hand because sometimes it goes further than what you planned. I don't know. Every time people used to try to implicate nanos, used to think it was crazy. Can't get past the fact all cars checked were released and they kept teased for 40 days. Yeah, it's not by accident, no doubt about it, April. However, the more and more we hear about how dirty Nano was, you can't put anything past him. That is very true, Soren Energy. Very true. L, Soren Energy agreed. Marianne, JLR, Ted, and DGL are going back to Arizona. Yes, they are. I heard that the other day. Uh, a song of my heart. Does social media need to back off so Perp is able to move around and get caught? That's a possibility, song. That is a possibility. I mean, the more everybody's all around, the more the perp probably is not going to want to be around. So that's a very good point, and that's something that everybody needs to think about. That's a very good point. You know, if you know everybody's out there, I mean, you have two ways of looking at it. One, you can just be a part of the masses, right? Out there with everybody, and no one knows, or until they know. Or you could be someone that says, "Man, I'm just gonna sit back here and just watch because I'm not going out there. It's too heated." That's a very good point, Soren Energy. I agree, DD. I think it's asking for trouble. Going back is great, but safety first, and pushing may have the opposite effect they are wanting. I totally agree, in my opinion. No doubt about it, Al. I always dismiss Nano being involved. However, last night, think about how easily Richard Nolet was dismissed. They knew he absolutely wasn't involved. Oh, that's very possible. Let's keep the story on the Nancy and the streamers are just so frustrated by be kind and be safe. Amen. Well said. Well said, Growski. So now we're at the point of we have to understand, what they did. We have to understand what happened or what was the crime to understand how they did it, and then to understand why they did it. Okay. Well, we know the why. At least I feel in my heart the why was for ransom. That went definitely wrong. You know, who did it? We don't know exactly who did it. Okay. There's a lot of people of interest. And then what did they do? You know, how did they do it? Because that's where we're at now. We're at the point now we're saying we know she was taken, possibly by a car, possibly by a wheelbarrow to a car, but we could almost surmise that it was definitely a vehicle, right? We can definitely surmise that. So now we know she has been taken, alive or unalive. Fanflower, hey Devil Dog and everyone, justice for Nancy, amen. Fanflower, thank you. That's why. That's why was money, in my opinion. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Speaks for itself. It's written by itself. You don't have to add any tangible things to it. It's telling you why it was done. Okay? So now let's go to the point of we cover the where the we cover the what was the crime, what was actually committed, what how they did it, how they took this person out. If you just go by the little bit of information you got, you have those answers. Okay. The only thing now we have to figure out is who could have done it. Okay. Who was involved? Because we got the other pieces kind of a little bit sorted out. Not to say that they're factual, but they're kind of sorted out. Absolutely, Marianne. The why was the money. Norma, happy hope for Nancy. Thank you, Norma. April, I also can't get past the fact of the picture with Luke with the beard and his body build and dressing for winter in his interview with the interviewer, Brianna Whitney. Yeah, I threw the Brianna Whitney in there. You're exactly right. And his sundress on a hot Tucson day. Yeah, absolutely. And those are the little things that make up the difference, April. Those are the little things. Remember, I told you all about you got to have those little. those little pieces. Just look at the little things because they speak volume. That is a little thing. That's the kind of little thing I'm talking about. That little speaks volume. She's wearing a sundress, and you're going to be wearing turtleneck, or you're going to be wearing long sleeves. You're going to be wearing this and that. You're going to shave your mustache and your beard. Really? It just there's always a reason why something doesn't look right because it's not right. That was very strange, says Al. Marianne, in my opinion, AT, and I'm not sure about the other person. Very possible, Marianne. Norma, amen, Gronsky, and a good morning. So now we have to figure out why and who could have done this. And this is where really all the nuts in the bolts come to play because we have so many people of interest. Okay. I've just explained earlier why DC is a very big candidate in all this picture because of what he did from the get go. Okay. Now, you can't not take out A and T because if they were calling, if he was calling them or if he was texting them and calling somebody of one of them for 9 seconds, uh, I just don't think that's coincidental. I think that's more than coincidental. I think that's very logical that it's possible that they were involved in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how. I'm just saying, you're getting a call from supposedly the bad guy. You're getting a phone call, or you're getting a phone call by the bad guy. You're getting a messages from the bad guy. Well, it's only logical to think that there might be some connection there. When there's a might be a connection there, then you are a person of interest until you can prove why you're not a person of interest. Does that make sense? You can prove, if you can prove why you're not a person of interest, that's fine. But if someone messages you who don't really have any money to take care of what they're asking for, and then calls one of you for 9 seconds, well, it's pretty safe to say, it is pretty safe to say that you are a person of interest. You may have nothing to do with it. That's very possible. But because they contacted you, you now become a person of interest. Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. It's just common sense. The whole electrician security system, Groundsky. So now we ask, so we know those three people have got to be persons of interest, right? I mean, it would be fair to say those three people are literally peoples of interest. Dee, in your opinion, do you think Savannah and Cam's know what happened and that's why they are being so quiet? Marianne, that's a very good question. I believe that Savannah and Cameron are asking themselves, why is there constant pointing the finger at my brother in law and my sister? I think the doubt is only human nature for them to think, why is this happening? Why do they keep going back to your house? Why do they keep going? What are they freaking looking for at your house? What do you have? I mean, they already said we were cleared, but yet they keep going to your house. Why? Why? And that's the big question. And you're right. You're right. To think that Savannah and her brother might have that gut feeling inside, absolutely, without a doubt. That's got to be playing in their mind. No doubt. If they had nothing to do with it, God knows they know in their heart, why. And that's probably why Savannah has, for all sake of purposes, moved on in New York. And that's why Cameron went back, or he's got to stay there sometimes because of the properties that he owns, right? But yes, absolutely. I think deep down inside they have that little burning little light in there that's saying something's just not right. I mean, out of all the people you could point the finger at, literally, people that have criminal records, people that live there that have criminal records, people that have made contacts, you know, with A&T, people that fit the profile, people that were very suspicious. They acted very radical, acted very like just acted crazy, or even incriminated themselves like a LD. Okay, yeah, that has to be on their mind. They're not dummies. They're not dummies. Of course, they hadn't entered their mind that something very well could be that this two are involved. But once again, they are people of interest. Okay, we just don't know if they had anything to do with it, but they are definitely people of interest because that one individual, DC in California, brought them into the picture. Now they have to separate themselves from him, and that's why they are people of interest. So now the cops have to hear their side and find out what happened, why were they contacted in both ways. Yes. So that's what I would say to that, Marianne. Good question. Soren, yesterday on JLR, the stream, they talked about Nancy has two septic tanks and that the FBI only checked the one back by the casita, which is a smaller one, and actually big septic tank is to there. Well, look, if they haven't checked the septic tanks by now, Soaring Energy, then we have a problem already, right? I mean, honestly, let's just call it for what it is. All septic tanks in that area should have been checked, right? So if we know for a fact that they didn't check one, I guess my question would be, how do you know that they didn't check that one? You know what I mean? Because here's the thing: you can go back and say, man, we got to check all the washers again. We got to check all the septic tanks again. We got to check. How do we know that that wasn't done? I mean, with all due respect, I mean, just because someone says that it wasn't done doesn't mean it wasn't done, right? Once again, if we go by literally what we're seeing, there's enough already there that's putting people in that line of fire, right? Without adding anything to it. See, to me, that's just another anomaly, if you will. If we stick to what we do know, those people become in that picture on their own. You follow me? I think Savannah left when she did. Uh, I think Savannah when she did. Elle says, I think Savannah left when she did for a reason, not just because of family at home. I think there was more to it. Oh, I agree with that, Elle. Very much agree. Why isn't Cameron, with all his military training organization, searching parties or very least passing out flyers? And that's a good question, Soren Energy. I have no clue. I have no clue. Uh, I have no clue. Uh, it does not look good for the family to not be doing anything. Like I said before, if I was a family, I would be getting a hold of these Cajun navies and these nonprofit organizations that help search for people's loved ones. You know, I would do that personally, especially if I had the means to do that. I'm just going to say it looks like a ritual. Savannah is now being elevated, and that's how it works. That's very possible. Fanflower, yes, think they know, and the truth will not come out. Go streamers, keep on it, and that will be the way this is solved. Very, very good, Fanflower. Very good. Norma, Didi, this would be a mess if all this was staged for a cover up that goes into that goes into something deeper, just a thought. Yeah, it would be. It would be. But look, you know what? I have a problem with this stage, just for me. This is just my opinion. I have no proof of it, but this is just my opinion. And I'm going to say it, my opinion. The reason I don't buy the staging thing, honestly, is I think people are making this too complicated. When you try to ask for what happened and you start adding things to it, that's what makes it complicated. Okay? So the staging aspect of it, people are like, well, it could have been staged. Yeah, to do this. I get it. It's happened in the past. I get it. It's happened in the past in our history where things have been staged. I just don't believe that this circle of people, now hear me out, fill me out on this circle of group of these people, I just don't think they're smart enough to do something like that. I don't think it's in their DNA to do something like that. In other words, do I think they could have been all involved in some way, shape, or form? Sure, I do. Sure, I do. But do I think that they're smart enough to be able to stage something big like this? In my opinion, no, I don't. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm saying, in my opinion, I don't think they're smart enough to do it. Not one of them. Yeah, I know Tommaso's a biology teacher. Anybody can go to school for a few years and get your degree. I get it. And I'm not minimizing people's degree. I'm just speaking from what I feel. Okay. The idea that this was staged, I don't subscribe to it because I personally don't believe they are smart enough to pull this off like that. We're giving people more credit, in my opinion, than they deserve. We're making them seem like they're the Gestapo, that they're the people that stole the paintings from where was it, that Italy or the Vatican or whatever in the heck they took all those paintings. Remember, that these people were that master mindful. No, no, even they weren't that master mindful, because the reality is they didn't have no security, and that's how all those paintings got stolen. So let's not build them up to be people of great intelligence. Okay, first of all, if you're going to do a crime like this, you got to be dumber than hell. Okay, to give up your freedom, or the potential of giving up your freedom if you're caught, there's nothing worth freedom as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so just to say that, yeah, I don't buy that. I don't think it was staged. I think it sounds good. It's a great storyline. It may get you a few more people to join your channel and this. That. I don't buy that. I don't think that's it. I think there's enough information there that we have really, right now, we have literally discussed, that gives you enough people that one of those people had something to do with this. Just my opinion. Good question though. Appreciate that. Marianne, thank you, DD, Soaring Energy. The big septic tank in the plain view of the street, just to the left of the front door. Everybody was out there when the septic tank were all checked. They would have seen it. No doubt. That's what I'm saying, Soaring Energy. You're exactly right. That's why I don't buy none of that. Tegan with the claps. Gronsky, extensive search has become just let her be found. Agree? No doubt about it. Tegan, it has always bothered me that the searches were spotted from the start. Were stopped from the start. It just doesn't make sense. Professionalism teams were willing and waiting to go out there. I totally agree with that. No doubt about it, Tegan. And that's one of those anomalies that I would say, that's what that's when you ask the question, what was your relationship like with this individual? Sheriff, did you guys go fishing? Did you guys do that? Why would you hinder an investigation? Why would you hinder it by stopping people from searching? Why would you end the search after just 48 hours? What would be the reason? Now, those are good questions, and those are fair questions. Those are solid, fair questions, and anybody can ask that. Sheriff, why would you stop to serve? I don't care what answer he gives, it's not going to be a good answer. There's no good answer. There's none. What's he going to say? Well, there was a tornado coming. What's he going to say? There was that typhoon coming. What's he going to say? All he can say is, oh, it was for the safety of the people. Didn't want anybody to get bit by snakes or whatever. Well, then what the hell do you have search teams for? If they don't know what the hell they're doing, why would they call themselves search teams like the Cajun Navy and other nonprofit organizations? You think they never searched anywhere where there was some anomalies of maybe wild, animals and or poisonous venom snakes? Come on, you're asking a group that this is what they do. I just don't want anybody to get hurt, so we're going to stop this after 48 hours. Yeah, that would be something I would look like that's come out of the right field that I would have to ask. What is your opinion? What is the reason why you did this? You would have to have one hell of a reason to convince me that after 48 hours, if not less than 48 hours, you felt that it needed to be stopped, that there just wasn't no information. I don't buy it one bit. That's the one piece I cannot figure out or even try. I mean, just trying to make sense of it makes no sense. If that makes sense, that's a good one. I'm going to try to repeat that. Fan, because they know. Good question, by the way. Good question, Tigam. Fan Flower, because they know they don't want to answer the questions. Crazy Hill. I agree. That's probably the only normal question for that one. L Tegan, yes, it doesn't make sense at all. That's something never been able to get past and stays in my mind 110%. L and Tegan 110%. April, I agree, Dee Dee. Easy ways to hide your mother than going through all this. No doubt about it. My gosh, there's so many ways. Take her on a cruise, throw her off the side of the cruise. If you really want to go ahead and eliminate somebody, happens all the time. Throw them off a cruise. You know, I'm just saying. I know I'm not saying that that's something that people should do. I'm just saying that there's a lot easier ways to do stuff like this. Happens all the time. Someone's going to slip at some point, in my opinion, because I think multiple people know what happened. Oh, I agree. Loose slips, sink slips, no doubt about it. Fanflower. What did I do? What did I do here? Sorry, guys. I don't know what I did to go to a. I don't know what I did. If you see a green screen, I don't know what I hit, but I hit something. So just bear with it. Sorry about that. Premature postulation. Exactly. You still don't have Nancy, says TJ. I know people are questioning the relationship between T and Nanos. How about T and Cam? Very possibility. No one has really talked about that, Marianne. That's a very good possibility. Lisa, are you okay? COPD flare up, Marianne. Got you. Thanks for asking. A song. Hey, that looks cool. I don't know what I did. I hit something. Sorry, everybody. I hit something and it just got all wiggy on me. April, you look good in green, Dee Dee. I don't know what I did, man. I hit something. I don't know what I did. Oh no! Oh no! You look good in green, Marianne. Feel better, Lisa. Hope you feel better, Lisa. It's all good, Dee Dee. Thank you, 1985, Norma. So now we have the issue of literally going ahead and now we have the issue of literally going ahead and figuring out who would have had reason to do this or who would have or could have done this. Well, we already named TC. He's got to be a person of interest. and he's got to be a person of interest because they got the 9-second phone call plus the messages, right? That's just common sense. Then DC, he's the one who sent them that. So he's definitely got to be a person of interest without a doubt. Okay? No doubt about it. Without a doubt, he's got to be a person of interest. Then now you go down the line. LD, criminal record, drug charges, burglary charges, God only knows what else that weren't caught. Okay? His interview, literally, with Brianna Whitney. That's crazy. He like literally put himself right at the number one spot with that interview. Didn't do himself any justice. The comments that he made to the police when he was stopped. Who does that? The person that says, "Oh, I left my phone at the dresser. Do you still want to see it? I'll get it for you because I didn't have it with me that night, Saturday night." Okay, that alone is person of interest number one as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so we know he had literally some reason to be labeled as a person of interest, and for me, a very high person of interest. I found Nano's impression is the best, no doubt. I love that. Oh no! Oh no! Thanks for Marianne for starting that, no doubt. April, feel better, Lisa. My husband has COPD. TJ, you put a background filter on. I don't know how to take it off. Do you know how to take it off? Because I don't. I hit something and I don't know what the hell I did. But it's okay. As long as you guys can see me, that's all that matters. T-Gam, in the words of Kermit the Frog, it's not easy being green. Lisa, thank you, April. Excuse me. Yes, steroids and antibiotics and extra breathing treatments help a little, but not much. Hope you feel better, Paige. Okay, so now we just literally mentioned a little bit, and look how almost everything information has on LD. Okay, LD. I mean, he's got so much stuff there. It's not even funny. And maybe he's just not the sharpest tool in the shed. Maybe he's just a few fries and a couple of nuggets away from a Happy Meal. I don't know. But nevertheless, he's definitely, in my opinion, a person of interest. Okay? There's too much there to just ignore. The blue car, the blue charger being crashed, being wrecked, the mom taking responsibility to protect her son, as the theory goes. Um, I would like to see the search warrant that they did for his car and their home, to his mom's home. I would love to see what they were looking for. What something in there has to talk about why they feel that he has this stuff or has something that they're looking for. So that means someone had to have given that information. Who was only arrested the day before? KD. Makes perfect sense to me. I mean, that's just a no brainer for me in law enforcement. That's a no brainer for any law enforcement officer. It didn't happen by coincidence. J Bug is in the house. Why am I wanting lime jello? I do like lime jello, by the way. That is one of my favorite. Lime jello with pineapple. Anyway, let's not talk food. Jay laughing. Thank you. Thank you, Ann, Jay, TJ, Lisa, Norma. You're welcome. Gronsky. Oh no, Mr. Beal. UIIE. G. J Bug. Luke's my number one. He's been my number one and still's my number one. Doesn't mean he did it, just means he's my number one person of interest. TJ, Luke, and Mom are suspicious, but A&T are involved somehow, in my opinion. I totally agree. And that's the whole point. When you start having people of interest, okay, you need to talk to them. You need to figure out what their role is, where they were at, what was going on, who was doing what was being done. Okay, you have to figure that out, and not figure it out. You have to bring them in and question them about all that information. And look, these investigators,
If I were a Supreme Pizza, what do you want to say?
as literally as a person of law enforcement, I can tell you right now, yes, those guys are definitely in. But now we have Luke in there. For sure, he's a number one suspect for me, or a person of interest, in my opinion. I agree, TJ. My opinion too. But now let's go a little further. Okay, the double pack guy. He was trying to get into that fence. He had the two double packs. Remember the guy that Doug on live Northport. He put out that video. Made perfect sense. Do they have his name? Why is he important? Because he was out there at the same time Nancy was taken, and he was only like zero point 0.4 miles away from where Nancy lived. So, what about him? Just being in the near vicinity, you're a person of interest. You need to be talked to. Find out what you were doing there. Literally, bring you in, find out what you were doing there, and go from there. That's what you do. Anybody who was out in that area at the time she was taken, and they can put you out there, you're getting talked to. Simple as that. That's how basic it is. April says, I think Luke and A and T know each other better than is being said. I agree, April. I agree 110%. Marianne, you left SI last night, so are you also okay? April, they live practically next door to each other. There's not a mistake there, everybody. That's well said, April. I think bunch of people know or suspect no one's talking for fear of their safety. That's very probable, L. TJ, I missed SI last night. I caught some of it. It just came on a little too late for me, but I did catch some of it. Marianne, yes, I am okay, Lisa. Thank you. Mostly recap on the porch guy's possible identity. Correct. Lisa says, good, Marion. TJ, 1985, I agree. There's more involved than we know, and they are all being quiet for a reason. All it takes is one to go down and start spilling the beans on everybody. Click that like, everybody. Click that like. Send them emojis. Let's build up this algorithm, everybody. Do me that favor. Bet they didn't take T, A, S, or C to the station. It was living room talk. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Treated them like kid gloves, more than likely. TJ, thank you, Lisa. You're welcome. Yes, TJ. Someone will slip up at some point, I think. Patty Cake's in the house. A burglar never wants to be identified. A burglar never wants to be identified, says Patty Cakes. That's true. But I don't think this was a burglar. I think this was a kidnapping from the very beginning. But you're right. I think anybody committing a crime never wants to be identified. You're very right, Patty Cakes. Thank you for being here. TJ, 1985, I think KD might have, that's why she got such a small sentence. Very possible. I mean, that didn't happen by accident. That didn't happen by accident. The idea that KD was arrested on the 12th and LD was search warrant was issued the very next day. That's not by coincidence, folks. I'm just telling you straight out. My honest law enforcement skills are telling me that doesn't happen, and that just literally is not a coincidence. Okay, she had to have said something to give them what they needed to do this. Otherwise, they would have done this a while back, right? They would have done this a while back. They needed something and they got it from her. That would be my honest opinion. Carol, hello everyone. Good to have you, Carol. Groundsky, I am having to adjust my life to West Coast time to follow the case. Haha. Good to hear you, Groundsky. Paige says hi. L. TJ could be reason they stopped searching. Who knows? Very possible. Paige laughing out loud. TJ Wheeler, 1985, very possible. TJ, I also wonder if DC is talking. Well, he's got a lot to lose too. He's got a little bit of time under his belt. But DC's in a really bad spot because he didn't get his Bitcoin that he wanted. And he can't tell the cops that, yeah, they had a plan to go ahead and they literally had a plan to take out um, uh, Nancy, for the better lack of words, and then because then he's going to get double charged. They're going to add more charges to him. So it's kind of like he's caught in a rock between a rock and a hard spot. There's no way to get out of that. He either tells them and gets a bigger sentence because now he's going to be also a person who is a conspiracy uh, in this case because Nancy went unalive. So now the charges go even higher. So take the charges even higher, or just do a little bit of time and just you know live and learn. Right? That's all his options are. Otherwise, he's screwed. But no doubt, DC has to be very careful because if he comes out and just says what really happened, or it starts throwing T and A under the bus, he's going down with them because he knew about it, did nothing. He's an accessory to the crime. April, thank you all for being here. Like, I subscribe, and share. You are all appreciated, and all opinions are welcome here. Amen. Someone's going to crack and talk, says Paige. I agree. Kayla is still in prison. Yes, she is. But maybe doing a lot less time than what she normally would have been done. L, hello, Carol, Lisa, Kayla, and Derek, Polly already are talking. Probably, yes, no doubt. I agree with that. I agree with that. TJ, Marianne, yes, but she got such a small sentence for her charges. She did. April, Kayla is in prison until October of this year. Slap in the hand. Paige, Gregory Walsh is in the house. How you doing, Gregory? Good to have you. If you are new, click like and subscribe and become a Devil Pup investigator. Help everyone get smarter in here. Click that like, everybody. Appreciate you, Gregory, for being here. Paige, L better go lay down. I'll be listening. Love you all. Okay, sounds good. Get better soon. Marianne, love you. Lisa, Marianne, there's Gregory. TJ, but he might flip to keep from being put away for a long time, kind of like I feel KD did. That is true. TJ, feel better, Lisa. Lisa, April, there's the email. If you guys got any information you want to send, there is my email. So now we've got KD, or I'm sorry, we got LD because of everything that was going on. We got KD would be a person of interest because she was affiliated with LD, right? And I mean, let's face it. I think one of those people that were there, possibly at Nancy's the day she was taken, was probably a female. One of those persons. She would fit the bill, but more so than that, she has a criminal record. That's why she was arrested. So she's definitely a person of interest. Then you have Kiki, the one who was wearing her shorts, her ass hanging out of her shorts. You know, she's not as a big person of interest, but because she was out of place in the wrong place, it was obvious that definitely would like to find out what she was getting by being there. What was her purpose? I know what she says about starting her channel and all this type of thing about crime and all this, but I don't buy none of that. I think that's just a ruse. I think that was a joke. Um, when you look everything on her Instagram and whatnot, uh, she has got like there's nothing to me that I see there about crime or anything that would justify that that's the line that she wants to go. That's the direction, you know. And then of course the guy that was taking the photographs, he's with her, so he would be a. You see where I'm going? Anybody who was in that area during the time this happened to Nancy, or who showed up later who didn't really fit that realm, or who literally went ahead and incriminated themselves by their communication with Brianna Whitney, the crime reporter for in Tucson, or the person who sent the text. You see where I'm going? They're all persons of interest. And the only way you eliminated them is that you talk to them. And I'm not saying the sheriff department, investigators, and or the FBI haven't talked to them. I'm just saying they're the people that, in my opinion, the people that did this are right there in that middle. Now I do want to say something because here the other day, Sleuth had a lady that came on named Amanda, and Amanda had basically stated that she was going to give him a lot of information. She was going to validate the fact that Matthew wasn't the one that they interviewed up at when they searched a search warrant to Luke's vehicle and their mom's house. They had talked to Matthew as well, and that's Luke's brother. And this Amanda lady was talking. She had come popped in online and kept talking about how he wasn't there. He was at some gala, got some gala, page gala, or some gala that he was at, and that she can prove it. So Luke asked her to send the receipt so that he could see, because it'd be nice to go ahead and basically clear him. And long story short, the other night Luke said that or Luke, Sleuth said that she never, she wasn't able to produce that information that he was somewhere else, and that she never sent him any information about everything she talked about being friends with these people, going to school with these people, yada yada yada. So in essence, she is a hoax, and that's pretty much what Sleuth has come to the conclusion, is that this Amanda lady who called in the other night was a hoax. Fact of the matter is, you know, it sounded good, but you know what? Hoax happen all the time. And kudos for Sleuth to go ahead and bring it out to everybody, because even we talked about some of that stuff, but we also mentioned nothing's been verified yet, you know? So the fact that Amanda, who claimed all the stuff, tells me she was trying to take Luke out of LD out of the equation. She was trying to basically put all the responsibility on an individual uh, with the name of God, what was his name? Lit up the hill. I'm thinking, everybody, give me a second. I don't have my book here. Um, you guys know who I'm talking about. It sounded to me like she was trying to take somebody out of the equation. His name started with the C. I cannot think of his name. And the reality is that almost like she didn't want anybody to keep putting the finger towards Luke for whatever reasons. And it made perfect sense. You know, she was trying to throw a narrative out there that would focus on someone else other than the people that they were focusing on. So that would make sense. So just want to let you all know that she is definitely a hoax. Best way of putting it. Until maybe someday confirming something. Indiana Kimberly, hello. Good to have you, Indiana Kimberly. TJ, I agree, DD. I feel there's definitely a female involved. Gregory, good. L, I still don't know who Kiki is. Never saw her. If you go back to, I think, this was towards probably a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks in the beginning, maybe even a month in the beginning. There was a you could find it on JLRs, you can find it in most Tucson, you can find it in most people's live because they were all streaming at that time. And there was this lady that came in there named Kiki, and she was dressing gothic along with her person who was doing the photography, and they were both dressed in gothic, and it was really slutty, in my opinion. She was wearing these short black shorts, tight leather shorts with their ass hanging out of them, and kind of, she was doing all these poses that were very seductive, and you could tell because a lot of the YouTubers out there, the streamers, were looking and gawking and whatnot. I mean, they can say not, but the evidence is there. So the reality is that she was also uh, seen at this, and I'm just going to say real quick, at this fetish ball, satanic fetish ball that they had in Tucson. She was later seen there. And so the idea became, because Nancy was such a big Christian in her faith, that literally, because she was such a big Christian, that it sent kind of a mixed message as why would somebody who was in that type of scene of a satanic cult also be literally there with with in front of Nancy's house. So disrespectful. So that's who she is. If you go look at some of these lives at the beginning, you'll see it, and I think most of them will have a picture of her as their front cover. You know what I mean? They'll have a picture of that episode. So check it out, and yeah, you'll be able to see what we're talking about. Hello, Kimberly and Gregory, says L. And Miss Mandy's in the house. I agree. Indiana, Kimberly. Hello, 1985. April, Faithful Servant has put out a video together of the streamer's footage from day 1 to 40, and we'll add more. Check it out. His channel if you haven't seen it. I have seen it, and it is good. Thank you, April. Fan, Clay, thank you, fan. So Amanda seemed like she was putting all the blame on Clay. And the idea that she was making it seem like it was Clay Crouch who was doing all this. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. Uh, and taking away the direction, the attention that was being put on LD. So she was putting all that. She did say that Clay and LD were friends or acquaintances, but the problem with Clay was that he was taken back to prison February 1st. Okay, he was taken back to prison February 1st for violating his probation. So this kidnapping was taken early morning on February 1st. I mean, I don't know how you square that, but yeah, that's the whole thing. So she was determined by Sleuth as a hoax, which made sense because this is what a lot of people do when they want to shift the narrative to different people. They come out and they say all these things. They say all the right things. They tell you the things that no one else has said probably because no one else knew. And then they get you to think, and people run with it. And I'll be honest, I went ahead and talked about it, some of the things she said, but I also said it has not been verified. You know, it has not been verified. This is what she claimed. And now look at it. Now it's determined last night that Sleuth said she's a hoax. She didn't produce any information, even the basic information about trying to uh, prove that Matthew wasn't the one that was talked to, and only to come up that she couldn't produce anything and didn't send any email to Sleuth. So you just got to do your homework, I guess. That's the best thing. Clay, thank you so much, everybody, for pointing that out. Marianne, she mentioned Clay. Yes, she did. Question is, why would she do that? Suspicious, says L. Because she wanted to take off the narrative of LD. She wanted to take the narrative of other people, especially LD, that were being literally addressed for their being people of interest, that she wanted to shift the narrative to somebody else. It's that old deflection, right? He didn't do it. This person did it. This person used to do this, and this, and this. And so then people kind of tend to go that route, right? It just happens. But that would be the reason to me. Okay, why would she do that? Marianne, Christopher. Yes. April, you can see all the players in the highlights of the case. Faithful servant 777 Kiki is in the video. Thank you, April. We'll check it out. Tegan, it is very cruel to give false information and lead people down a wrong path. The consequences for some could have been very bad. No doubt about it. Very well said, Tegan. Oh Lord. Fan, really good. Video from Faithful Servant. Marianne, oh no, not the ball. Yeah, we're done with the ball now. Marianne, Tegan, it was very gross to do that in front of a crime scene. Sick people. No doubt about it, Tegan. Totally agree with you. Yeah, Tegan. Sounds distasteful and disrespectful. No doubt. Tegan, 100%. TJ, 100%. Robert, next weather report with DD. L, yeah, and just makes LD look more suspicious, in my opinion. Her doing that did absolutely L. TJ, I agree. 1985. So see, the whole idea is now we've covered the people we covered as potential people, right? Because we covered what we think it is, what was done to Nancy. We covered what the whole purpose was. We covered what probably looks to what happened, that something, she got hurt either in the house or being put in a vehicle because of the blood splatter. Then you go to the third thing, which is who could have done this. And now we've covered all these people. They're all people of interest. I don't give a damn what anybody says. Okay? These people are people of interest. Everybody we've named so far. All the way down, literally, to KD. Definitely AD is on my LD's on my top of my list. Clay not so much, because he was sent back to prison on the first, unless he did it early morning knowing he was going back to prison and needed some cigarette money on his account. I don't know. All I can tell you is that, yeah, you got to go just with what you do have. It's when you start adding a bunch of other stuff that sometimes clouds your judgment, or clouds a person's judgment, to go, well, maybe that could have had something to do with this. That could have, you don't want to really interject anything if you got something. If you have nothing, then yes, interject all these different possibilities. But if you have something, stick to that something, because it's going to paint, the picture's going to be painted by itself. You're not going to have to do nothing other than put the pieces together. So now we're at LD. We talked about the guy with the fence, right? The double pack guy. Is he not being talked to? We talked to the guy with the white Kia, that he was walking towards the white Kia Soul, that's been hauling ass through Nancy when she was, during that time she was taken. Okay, all within that time circle. Then you go up a little bit more, and you have the Charger or I'm sorry, the blue car of the woman that was screaming outside the window for help. Was that a coincidence? Because that happened during the same time as Nancy was taken, within that circle. So how can all these things be anomalies? How can they all just be like, oh, they're coincidence? I don't buy that. I don't buy that one bit. I can almost tell you this. In everything that I have read and seen, I believe that we have already covered the people that did this. We've already covered them. We already saw them. We've covered them. It's just we don't have any information coming from the other side to be able to really solidify what we're thinking. That's the best way to put it. Robert, weather report is mostly green with squiggles. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what I hit, and I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it, so I was like, yeah, I'm just leaving it alone. April, I have thoughts from being the neighborhood and someone close to Nancy put this together. It's no doubt. I mean, and you have to also look at the statistics. Something like this, for an 84-year-old woman to be kidnapped, that's like a 92% is someone that knows this person. That's a high percentage. Just that alone, you got to go, Jesus, gosh, man. We need to interview these people again. If we interviewed them once, we need to do it again and see if their story changed. There's a lot of factors here, you know, a lot of factors. So there's just so much, you know. Who did the Porsche guy look like? Was it a girl? Was it a man? The guy who called in and said, "I am not a female." Remember him, Lopez? I am not a female. What are you talking about? He called in the Sleuth's channel. I am not a female. They were talking about the Porsche person being a girl. That it looked like a girl. He called in and said, "I am not a girl," and had that like really frustration in his voice. I am not a girl. Okay, who are you? And then he tells him who he is. Ronald something Lopez, Ronald Anthony Lopez, I believe. And then he says, "I am not a girl." Okay, you're not a girl. Well, what is he saying? Did something struck a nerve? Did he not finally feel like, oh God, like they're calling me a girl? You know, how dare they? That guy needs to be talked to. So now you have so many people here right now, just in that circle, just in that neighborhood, just in that area, that are potential people of suspects, persons of interest, as I would call them. Every one of them needs to be re-talked to. If they already talked to them, they need to be talked to again. They need to be go ahead and interviewed again. See if their story changed. You know? Here's the thing, everybody. There's always going to be something. And the evidence is there. Okay? Make no mistake, the evidence is there. It's just a matter of trying to put it together. So you have all that, everything we just covered. So now we have suspects. So we covered what probably was the reason. We covered how they probably did it. We covered um, who the potential suspects are, or at least people of interest that should be talked to. We covered that, and then you go to the end. Where was she? Where is she? Is she in the wash? Is she under a tree? Is she buried under a tree or under a rocks or in a bush in a brush? Is she in a septic tank? Is she buried somewhere? Did they what where is she? Is she in a river? Is she in a lake? Rose Canyon Lake? Where is she? And that's the part that you need to try to find. Could you let Faith know that her thing's done in the oven? You want me to open the oven? Yeah, just check real quick. It looks done, but it looks like it should be cooked a little longer. Okay. Thank you. You know how like the crust is like doughy looking? Yeah. Thank you. Probably so like now, thank you. So now we have all that, right? So now it's trying to figure out where could she be. I don't think she's in Mexico. I don't buy that for 1 minute. I think she's close by to her home. I think she's in a, could be around 5 to 10 miles radius around her home, or she could be in the lake, as another person of interest had stated in the past. She could be uh, anywhere. But I do not think this was anything done by uh, you know the mob, gangsters, people from Mexico, the drug lords and all that. That's not something that they focus on. Do they do it only to their competitors, only to the family of their competitors? If they're going against another family, they could do something like that to one of their family members' competitors. But to just go out and get somebody and say, okay, we're going to take this person and get some money. They make already enough money. They make so much money. They want more, but it's not from that. It doesn't make no sense. So I don't buy the Mexico theory, in my opinion. I think it's close to home. I think it's one of these people that we talked about. I think that it is definitely going to come out to be that, in my opinion. And but once again, you can draw a lot of information and you can add in your own like theories and opinions. Okay, but you want to stick to the what you do know, because what you do know is a shitload of information right now. You do know a shitload of information. It may not look like it, because the information is solid, but it's just not giving you that final piece of the puzzle. You follow me? It's not giving you that final piece of the puzzle. So therefore, we start, and it's only common sense. We start to interject different scenarios. It was staged, or could have been staged. Well, yeah, it could have been anything. It could have been a person from China, infiltrated, but that's not likely. You follow what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that it could have been, and you have to stick to what you do have, because what we have here is a lot. Make no mistake, it is a lot. But the stuff we have has to be literally um, has to be verified and checked out by the powers to be. In this case, the investigators and or the FBI. Because until then, this is all we're doing is just having the conversation. Yes, DD, absolutely. Tegan, Robert, weather report. It's mostly green. Tegan, I have thought of being the neighborhood and someone close to Nancy put this together. Agree with you 100%, April. Click that like, everybody. Click that like. Send those emojis. Let's get that going, everybody. Let's build that algorithm. If you are new to the channel, sign up. Be a devil pup investigator. Nano's too busy trying to get out crap to do more interviews. Yeah, right. No doubt. I noticed that. Little Red Bee, in my opinion, there is a man and a woman, possibly 2 different days. Very possible. Very possible. Paula, Dee, your green screen is bright and too much for me. I don't know how to change that. Faith, do you know how to change this screen?
Huh?
Do you know how to hit the screen? I accidentally hit something and it made the screen like that.
Oh my god.
Do you know?
Let's
see. No? Like, oh, there you go.
I don't know what you clicked, but yeah.
Okay. There you go. Just fixed it. Oh, I was afraid I'd screw everything up.
What do you say it's done?
I thought it was. Marianne, people are saying she is within 5 miles from her home. And I could see that, Marianne. I could definitely see that. On private property, which makes it difficult. It makes it difficult for people in like streamers and people that are searching for it to, they can't just go on somebody's private property. But it would be a lot more easier if law enforcement was going out there and searching, because they have a little bit more pull. The problem is Nanos canceled the search after 2 days, less than 48 hours. Makes no sense. L says, that's my suspicion, Marianne, or certainly within 10 miles. I agree, L. Forget Mexican, the players are close by. I totally agree with that, Gronsky. Paula, thank you. You're very welcome. Falls, good morning. Good to have you, Falls. Hope your day's going well. L, laughing out, thank you. You're very welcome. Lisa, hi, Paula. TJ, much better. Lisa, hi, Falls. Lisa, hi, Lisa. Hello, Falls. Gronsky, we're back at home again. Paula, hi, Falls. Falls, hi, Paula. Norma, I'm back. Marianne, I've been thinking of this from the beginning, and I still do. I mean, it makes no sense, everybody. It really doesn't. It makes no sense. But I'm telling you, we covered the people that we believe is involved. I'm telling you, it's there. Hello, Pablo, and welcome back, Norma. Falls, the eye doctor appointment today. Hope all goes well. Paula, hi, Norma. Paula, hi, L, 1985. Norma, thank you, 1985. So we covered people of interest. We covered how, what this was, what the crime really probably was a ransom. Okay, kidnap for ransom. That went terribly wrong. Okay, got to show proof of life. They couldn't do it. We also got people of interest. Everybody we mentioned is a person of interest, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, that information doesn't lie. Then we got why they did it, or not so much why, but we got into who could have done it. Now we get into why. Well, if you go back, you know, if you go back to TNA and even DC, they all probably hurting for money, especially TNA. It is possible. I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying it is possible, and therefore money is always the object. Because if the crime being committed is a ransom for money, then it's because they need money, right? You know, you go down the line and you look at literally, you look at LD. You know, how did he get this money real quick to buy a brand, or not a brand new, but a car from buy here, pay here type of dealership, you know, where he's paying cash for his Range Rover, right? It just makes no sense. Then you add on top of that, you add um, you add these other factors of people. When it's a ransom, it's for money. And when it's a ransom, it's for money. That's it. Okay, it's not for clout. It's not because there's an infatuation with Savannah. It's because of money. And what are we everybody struggling today with? Money. Why? Because everything's expensive. You know, it just goes without saying. Everybody. The reality is that we name a lot of people who we believe are people of interest. We named how they probably took her. We we talked about why they probably took her, and we talked about what could have happened to her, how she became unalive. We talked about um, we didn't even get to the point of people in this whole fetish realm in Tucson, which is the satanic cult movement. There's a lot there too, but I don't want to go over that right now because that's just too much. But you understand what I'm saying, everybody? We have information. It's just a matter of getting that information out. It's a matter of the investigating team and the FBI doing their job and going ahead and having more conversations with these people or more interviews. Even if they've interviewed once, so what? Interview them again. Bring them in again. See if their story has changed. You know, Patty Cake said hi. Hello, Patty Cakes. Lisa Page, hi, Patty. Hi, Patty. TNA's neighbors talked to JLR and said it doesn't look like they are at their house. April, like and subscribe if you are new and enjoy the great info and chat. We appreciate you all. This is it, folks. We hear everybody has a view, everybody has an opinion, everybody has a comment, and everybody's views are respected. If you want to join a channel that literally talks about common sense with some information from a law enforcement in his background, this is where you want to go. This is all about common sense, a little bit of background or a lot of background, however you want to consider it, from law enforcement. This is what we do. We're not in, I don't get into all this other crazy stuff and hoopla. It's just about what information do we have to work with. And I try to give you the best insight possible. April, like and subscribe. New and enjoy the great info. Lisa, Marianne, I think that's true. Hi, Patty. Hi, April. Norma, yes, Dee Dee, strongly agree. Patty Cakes, howdy. Good to have you. Lisa says, thank you, dog, for simplifying it for us. I appreciate so much. Back at you, Lisa. Thank you. Oh, what a wonderful web we spun. We have got a great web. We have got a great channel. And I think it's going to keep growing like it has been. It's going to keep growing. You guys need to continue to put this out there. We just got a shout out here. I signed up with Sleuth Intuition. Love his channel. Signed up as a member with his channel. He gave us a big shout out on his channel last night. Very nice, very nice. You know, good little plug. And I appreciate all his followers, and I appreciate people. I appreciate Sleuth. I appreciate all of them. You know, helping out the littler guys. Uh, And then as well as Tucson gave us a plug-in as well. Even used one of our double dog little things that we put on, and but gave us a plug. Also gave us a lot of recommendations and whatnot. It means a lot. Appreciate that. I haven't got onto Monk, but I need to go ahead and get with Monk, and there's a few others that I really enjoy. Really few others that I enjoy. Even Mark the Shark and etc. So we're growing. We're not going nowhere, and this is not the only case we're going to be doing. I mean, there's a couple other cases that we're working on right now, especially the one in California. Okay, where there's no new information. That's why I haven't talked about it here. There's not any newer information as of yesterday, and that's with Joanna Ruth Shields from Carlsbad, California. We're still on top of that. And then we're just waiting for the court hearing coming up in Columbus, Ohio, with the Spencer and Monique Tepe and her ex-husband, who went ahead and unalived them on the 31st of December. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff we're covering, and we're going to keep covering. We're not going nowhere. This site is not going nowhere. But it's definitely because you guys are spreading the word. You guys are getting the word out. Other streamers are starting to know who we are, and they like what they hear. You know, and so I just want to say thank you to all of them as well, because they really, it does help. It does help having them at least listen to what our views and our points and our thinking and why we say the things we're saying. So get back to the chat here. Da, 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 da. Uh, TNA are hiding out. Very well could be, L, no doubt. And that's another thing too. We talked about how they needed to come out. Maybe give an interview. You know, maybe talk to Cajun Navy and see if they'll come out and do a big search. I'm not saying, if anything, at this point, it's a little late for a big search. I'm not going to lie. It's literally late. You're already 104 days plus, possibly in this case, as far as Nancy's been missing. Okay, so it's a little late. But here's the thing: if I am a family member and I want to make sure that I covered everything possibly ground, I am going to call Cajun Navy and I'm going to ask them, hey, how much does it cost me to get you guys out here to search that whole damn area? You know, and let them do it. Because here's the thing: I could not live with myself. I could not live with myself if I knew I didn't use every resource, every capability, every possibility, everything I had, my tools in my tool chest. If I didn't use everything possible to see if I could find my mom or mother-in-law or whatnot, grandmother, then I have to look at myself in the mirror every day. Every freaking day I have to look at myself in the mirror and know that I didn't do everything that I possibly could have. Look, you do everything you can, and you do everything you can in your power. Hey, guess what? At the end of the day, I did everything I could. There's nothing else we could have done. But when you leave so much on the table, and you have to wake up every day and look at yourself in the mirror, or when Mother Days comes around and you have to say, "Oh God, I wish Mom was here." Well, did you do everything you could have to bring back Mom home? That's the question. I couldn't live like that. I could not live like that. Therefore, that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay? I could not live like that. I would have to turn every rock upside down or pay somebody to help me turn every rock upside down. Leave no rock unturned. Hi, Paula. Hiding out, hiding faces. Why? Sense of guilt, possibly. I mean, that would the only thing that would make sense to me, L, is just a sense of guilt. Lisa Page, 1985. Norma, yes, Didi, amen. SI is going to interview dogs soon. Also, he did mention that. Um, yeah, yes, he did, and that's awesome. Hearing from Sleuth. Like I said, I got to get with Monk too, because Monk, I really enjoy his channel. These guys don't have a lot of law enforcement or any law enforcement background, but they are really good at getting detailed information, and that speaks volume. Just want to give them a big shout out. Groundski, thank you. 857 and SI, absolutely. Absolutely. Much love and respect to all of them. May not all agree on who we like and who we shouldn't like, but the reality is it's all about getting Nancy home and finding information. Lisa says 857 respects and shouts out to Dog too. No doubt. Very much respect to them also. No doubt about it. Fall says, I looked up Clay's mom and Luke's mom has had several properties. A couple are for her business. Interesting. That's awesome because that's why they have a lot of power in that area. I mean, it's expensive to have one house, yet alone 2 to 4 houses. Well done, Falls. Thank you.
Do you want two big slices?
Good morning, Falls.
That
Thank
good?
you, sweetie. Yep. Thank you. Yep. Good morning. Good morning, Standard. Falls, you welcome, Lisa. Fan with the hearts. KB, hey, dog. Been listening while getting ready. I have 2 more PTOs. Add. No time now. You got it, Kay. You got it. Thank you for being here and listening. I appreciate you. And like I said to everybody here, spread the word. Put them in the chats. You know, when you're on that chat of Tucson, or if you're in that chat of Sleuth, hey, no, we're members of them. We are all members of them. But when I say we are all, because this channel's a member of them, absolutely plug them in. Plug our channel in and let's get more people in this. That's the only way we're gonna grow and make everyone smarter. Appreciate all of those streamers. Groundsky, that is good info, Falls. Paige, hi K. Thanks, Groundsky, says Falls. Norma, we all came together as one. Nancy will be found one way or the other. Amen to that. Al says, Norma, prayers. Groundsky, I am interested in more info on Luke's mom. She has gone kind of under the radar too. No doubt about it. She's gone under the radar. So it would be interesting to get a little bit more information. Norma says, Didi, you are established right. The Didi, you are absolutely right. There needs to be done with Cajun Navy, but will the family do this? That's the question. That is very true, Norma. Look, you can't say you've done everything you can if you can't if you cannot go ahead and call them and tell them what is it going to take to help you come out here and search for our mom. It's just that simple. No doubt about it. It is that simple. Marianne, I would love for one of the streamers to be out somewhere and bump into A and T and ask them the question, laughing out loud. Silence sometimes is good. Okay? Silence is sometimes good. But when it comes to a case of your mother missing and or your grandmother missing or your mother-in-law missing, I can't think of one time where silence was good. Okay? You need to get ahead of it and you need to ask the people. They need to see that compassion. They need to see that that felt of loss that they can see that you have, because that's what's going to make them want to put out more and give out more and do more for your family that they don't even know, but they respect, because we all have mother-in-laws, we all have mothers, we all have people that we love, and that's important. Everybody, that is very important. Where did she get all the money, and why Luke's past so dark? That's a good question, no doubt about it. That's a very good question. Elle says, Marianne, I think they might get cursed out if they were to try, sadly. No, it's not going to go well. And I think that's where people make a mistake. It should never go like that, in my opinion. Hell, because The reality, we don't know what these people are dealing with. We don't know what these people are feeling. And most of all, we can have ideas and people of interest and all that because they are people of interest. But that doesn't mean that they're involved. It just means that they need to be talked to because they are people of interest. You know? So to me, that would be totally wrong if anybody did that to them. It's probably why they don't want to really say anything. Or on the flip side, because then what can they really say? If you ask somebody, let's just say hypothetically, I went and I asked A&T, could you tell us why you guys didn't really go out there and search? I mean, the impression that the people are having is that there's not a sense of love and loyalty and care for Miss Nancy. Could you explain that to us? What are they going to say that's going to satisfy that answer? Honestly, what are they going to say? I mean, think about that. What are they going to say? Sheriff didn't want us to do that. That's not the sheriff's mother. That's your mother. That's not the sheriff's grandmother. That's your grandma. That's not the sheriff's mother-in-law. That's your mother-in-law. So, what answer could they possibly give you that you would turn around and go, well, I can understand that? Let me tell you what answer. Zero. There's nothing they can say. Nothing. Nothing. I don't care if they said the FBI told us not to say. I don't care. I don't care if they said it. My attorneys told. I don't. Look, the bottom line is when you're looking and you're wanting help from the people and you're looking for your mother, you're looking for your mother-in-law, you're looking for your grandma. There's nothing you can say other than we just didn't do enough. Yes, we should have done more. I wish we had. That's all you can say, in all honesty. So I'm not sure really asking that question, what is it going to get you? I mean, you may ask it because you want to know what they're thinking, but what is it really going to get you, honestly? And what can they say that's going to satisfy a person's thought process as to why they didn't look for their mom, or what appeared that they didn't look for their mom? Paul says he, as an LD, and Matt are adopted. Yes, and the other two brothers, I think, are uh, foster kids. Norma, shout out to the beautiful live streamers not giving up on Nancy. God bless each one of them. Amen. His adopted dad was a priest. Both Luke's mom and dad were clinical psychologists. It looks like mom might still practice. How about asking Brian Enton to get an interview with A&T? I was going to say AT&T. Oh, they'd love to have a conversation, right? AT&T. I'm not really sure that even Brian Enton, Marianne, can get anything more of a solid answer to that question. You know, we can ask the question, why did it appear that you guys weren't doing enough searching? Why does it appear that? Why didn't you guys, it just seemed like you guys were always on the go and didn't want to say anything and didn't want to talk to the media to help find your mom when they were going out there and doing that. I mean, what question could you possibly ask other than, did you do it? And if they say, no, we had nothing to do with this, that kind of is an open ended question, right? It's asked and answered. Can't go back to it again because you already asked it. It would be disrespectful to keep going back to that same question. So it's about asking questions that are going to create thought, create a thought process. It's going to be asking a question that's going to literally generate a conversation. Because in a conversation is where you hear all the devils in the details. In a conversation, not in a soundbite, in a conversation. And you all need to remember that. When you're asking questions and you want to know things, you want to get into a conversation. You don't want to have that one, as they would call, big moment. Did you do it? No. What do you say then? Really? I mean, what do you say? There's nothing to follow up on it. Ask and answer. Okay? The idea is to get into a conversation. How did you feel when you heard about this? What was going through your mind when you heard about this? Was there anything that you felt like, did you think anybody come into your mind right away when you guys heard about this? You follow me? It's about creating a conversation, because in that conversation things are going to come out either intended or unintended. And that's the whole point. Not the I got the golden goose answer or question. Did you do it? No. Where do you go? Follow me? It's common sense, everybody. Now, about asking Brian, Marianne could be a possibility. Brian seems to be good at getting people to talk. Well, that's true. Very true, Al. And very true, Marianne. Falls. John, who was the adopted dad, passed away in 2018. Okay, thank you for that, Falls. April, we may have a favorite streamer, but we appreciate them all here, and no disrespect to any of them. We will be tolerated. We will be tolerated here. I have seen it in other channels. Hoorah, Semper Fi. Well said. Well said, April. T-Gam. Norma. DD, I am sorry, but I don't rule the family out because they haven't lifted a hand to help find their mom. Just my opinion. No, I didn't. I don't rule them out. No, I don't rule the family out either. By no means, Norma. I follow what you're saying, but I don't rule them out either. Matter of fact, I the ones that I've talked about are definitely the ones that are people of interest, in my opinion. You know, but it's the idea that to create a conversation is where information comes out. So if you want to get information, you create a conversation. If you want to get a soundbite, you ask the question, did you do it? And what I'm saying is there's nothing to go after that. It's just that. Yes or no, right? But when you have a conversation, more things come out by choice, by accident, or voluntarily, and that is what makes the difference. And that's what I'm saying. But I agree with what you're saying, Norma. No doubt about it. J Bug, I have close experience with Texas EquiSearch. They also were denied. Yes, that is true. Good deal. Good to know that, J Bug. Thank you for that. They also were denied by Nanos. Their policy is they search at the request of LE or the family. All Savannah has to do is ask. There you go. Well said, J Bug. So that's really what it comes down to. EquiSearch is another one. I couldn't think of them, but that's another one. All Savannah has to do is call them and ask them, what will it take to get you guys down here to do a massive search? What will it take for Cajun Navy for you guys to get out here and do a massive search? That's all you're asking. And they're going to tell you. And then you go from there and you make it happen. It's that simple. It really is. I'm not sure why it hasn't been done, or as if it hasn't even been attempted. I'm not sure. L, yeah. Streamers are random people approaching A&T may not end well. I agree. That's all I'm saying. Marianne, I didn't say it was going to happen. No, 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 no. I get it. I get it, Marianne. I'm just saying I get it. I know you didn't mean it like that. I get it. Growski, remember the kidding game? The kidnap game? This yields doubt, right? L, wish they would be more open, no doubt. Falls, I really would if the car didn't tell them everything and the feds are just dotting, I'm crossing it. to have a rock solid case going to court. I would hope so, Falls. I really do. The kidnap game is suspicious. Very. Tegan, I am still suspicious of Z because he would answer questions with words such as "prove it." Oh, absolutely. As I remember that. You're exactly right. Prove it. Show me. Find it. If you have any information, tell me what I've done. I remember that. No doubt. And he would be a person of interest as well. Absolutely. And his answers were vague. You are definitely right on that, Tegan. Lisa, AT&T is a joke. Good observation, Tegan. Agree Falls. Janice, good mid morning, folks. Says Janice. Good to have you, Janice. J Bug, any interviews A&T would give would be to NBC and possibly Dateline. Very possible. I'm coming to life again, says Lisa. Good deal. Hi, Janice. Hi, Tegan. Janice. Hi, Lisa. Nothing Nothing can really justify the way things have gone. It's so sad. And that's 100% well stated, Al. 100%. Did Gregory stay or leave? Not sure. Not sure his game. Marianne, I think he left, Lisa. Okay, thanks, M. Lisa, Gregory is suspicious in my opinion. He may be. He didn't really ask too much of anything. Norma, thank you, Dee. You welcome. Norma, yes. Yes, do strongly agree, Dee. Amen. Marianne, at least Gregory and his Florida theory because Nancy was 84. Lisa, because he makes these weird accusations that won't respond to any questions, then leaves and does it again in the next chat. Yeah, those people you just have to either ignore or just block. No, we no room for that. Falls, I'm headed to my appointment. Keep up the great work, everyone. You got it, Falls. Have a good doctor's appointment. Have a good day. April, does your husband still smoke like me? Says Lisa. Lisa, he does. The other live streamers like this too. Awesome. That is awesome, guys. That is awesome. You too, April. Bye, Falls. Janice, Cajun Navy won't search without Nano's approval. Then maybe they should go to Aqua Search, as somebody else was pointing out here a second ago. Marianne says he says people should check the villages in Florida because she was 84. Says Marianne. Take care, Falls. Yes, Lisa, but he has cut back a lot in on an inhaler for COPD. Stay strong, Falls. Okay, me too, April. Thanks. Okay, thanks. Right, Norma, about other live streamers. Norma. Hello, Janice. Janice, hi, Norma. I'll keep an eye out on him, Lisa, says April. Have a great day, Falls. It's all goes well for you. Patty Cakes, why do you have to ask for permission to search? That's a very good question, Patty, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Patty Cakes, that I subscribe to that, to be honest. April says, hi, Janice. Welcome in. Nario said hi. How you doing, Nario? Okay, April, I will. Not allowing people to search is so strange. You'd want all the help you can get. Janice, I don't think you do necessarily, but that is how Cajun Navy likes to do it. I got you. Okay, it's more of a preference because then they feel more like they're being invited there. That makes sense. Welcome, Janice. It's great to have you on our chat, says Norma. I agree, says Lisa. Thank you, Norma. I apologize for my absence, but had a lot going on in my family and myself. No, no problem. No problem. It's great to have you. 1985, not allowing searches and also hiding. Yes, Lisa, stays a lot. Same here, Janice. Norma, it's okay, Janice. Don't apologize. You are good. Hope it all works out with your family. I think the family deal is resolving. Me personally. No kidney stones. Laughing out doesn't explain the pain I had though. Hope you feel better, my friend. Hope you feel better. Prayers are with you. Hello, Janice. Take care. Hope things get better. Good deal, says Lisa. So that's what we have, everybody. We literally have a very good chat, a very good channel. With a lot of respect and a lot of appreciation and a lot of support by a lot of people. And that usually speaks volume, everybody. Usually speaks volume. But this channel is growing. Make no mistake, it is growing. Good deal. I am doing better. Thank the Lord and thank you. You very welcome. Good group here, says L. So I think we're pretty much done. I'll probably come out at 5 if possible. I should come out at 5. If you guys see me at 5, we will be out at 5. It certainly is, says Janice. I'm at the point, Marianne says, I'm at the point that the only people that really care about this case are the streamers and people that follow them. Amen. Amen. Well said. Well said, Marianne. Pretty much, Marianne, says Janice. But we've covered everything that we're going to cover for today. We can chat on anything you want. There's not, like I said earlier, there's not any new information with the case in California or in Ohio right now. So, I'm not really talking a lot about that until we get some DNA results and some that toxicology report from Joanna Root Shields. That's what we're waiting on over there. My son has concert tonight, so I probably won't be on later. Hope you all have a great day. You got it, El. Appreciate you. Thank you for letting us know. Appreciate you. 1985, enjoy. It's Marianne, it's so frustrating. No, I agree. Thanks, Lisa. Lisa says so very frustrating and discouraging. It is. It is. Lisa said, "You welcome 1985 patty cakes. I watched since day one. My heart is so heavy. Gronsky, time to let this all settle in. Amen. Amen. Yes, Lisa. All right, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Great live. Thank you all for throwing out your points of views. At 5 o'clock, we'll pick up. I'll be back at 5. Hope you all join me then. Know that we are in it together. We are all in this together. We are what makes this channel a success. And once again, a big shout out to Sleuth and to 857 and to every streamers, Monk and all of them, Mark the Shark, etc. All of them. Thank you for all the plugs and all the uh, support. We do appreciate it. We're going to grow one way or the other. One way or the other, we're going to grow because we're growing. So pass the information, pass our sites when you're on other lives, plug us in, and let's get that next level where we need to be. With that, everybody, I appreciate all of you. I thank you for being here. And let me just read these last and then we'll call it. Yes, Lisa Janice, you have a great afternoon. I will try to remember 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You got it, Janice. Marianne, have a great afternoon, all. Thank you, Marianne. Little Red Bee, thumbs up at the heart. Patty Cake, bye, everyone. L, yes, fine, Nancy. Paige, bye, everyone. Marianne, hearts. L, bye, all. All streamers, says Lisa Page. Gronsky, enjoy the afternoon. God bless. And always remember this, everybody. Like I always say, everything is common sense. Everything is literally common sense. Semper Fi, everybody.